Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and join me once again this month is my good buddy James DeSantis. James, if you want to say 2 cents about yourself quick.
I'm always here.
That's one way to put it. Yeah, James does really good video game reviews as well as good top 10 and top 5 videos on his channel, so go check that out. Link is in the description down below. But this month we are going through once again the best and the worst films in our opinions of said month, and this is September, and so we are going to dive into first the top 10, or not top 10, the top worst movies of the month. And so James, if you want to start us off with your top worst.
Yeah, the worst movies, for me, there's two movies. And neither of them are, like, terrible, bad movies. They were just not that good, or actually, the best way to put them is disappointing. The first movie is a movie that you didn't see that came out in theaters here in America for a day. The Digimon movie, the Digimon Try, whatever the hell they call it in America, I don't know, some subtext. I was like really excited to see this because I grew up with Digimon. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. They brought all the cast back from the original. But it just lacked a lot of heart. I think also the fact that it was made in Japan for like TV, for like streaming and stuff, and a mini-series versus a movie series, it really failed to be like very engaging like the original movie, which I thought was a lot of fun, and I actually just watched that last year with my wife, and we were laughing because they took it more as a joke, and it was a lot more fun. But the movie that I thought was actually even a bigger disappointment, and kind of a lot of things that when I was watching, I'm like, that is fucking stupid, is the Blair Witch Project. I think is it called Blair Witch?
Yeah, it's just Blair Witch.
Okay, the Blair Witch, or Blair Witch, whatever. She was ugly as fuck, and this movie, I had like so many issues with it because the characters were on some grade level retardation. It was like they were doing things that were simply fucking too stupid to believe, and then it was just like. And I hate the thing where it was like, oh, it just redid the first one. It didn't really redo the first one. It did its own thing. It just wasn't all that engaging. There were some cool moments, and I do love the sound in the movie. I think that's great. But the story was ridiculous. The characters were like, who the fuck was rooting for anyone in this movie? I was like, yeah, come on, witch, eat these motherfuckers. And, yeah, it was just overall very big disappointment.
You obviously have not seen my review on Blair Witch, so this is an interesting discussion. I didn't think Blair Witch was all that bad. Honestly, I actually ended up enjoying it for the most part. It wasn't on my top of this month or anything, but I don't think I hated it quite as much as you did. But speaking of disappointed movies, my number 3, I chose 3 for the top 10 or top 3 worst of this month. My number 3 is The Disappointments Room. This thing was supposed to be a horror flick. It was pushed back release date-wise so many different times, and I just decided to go see it because it really came out, and it doesn't do anything. It falls on this historical context of back in the 1800s or early 1900s, rich families, if they had a deformed child or someone with some sort of disability, they put them inside this disappointment room, which would generally be in an attic. They would have a servant or some family member go and feed them and deal with them as needed, and they would just stay there for the entirety of their short lives. And it plays on this idea, but just doesn't really do anything all that interesting. It dives into kind of like a mental health field to an extent, but still it just wasn't that interesting of a movie, and I found myself just very, very bored throughout the large majority of it. So that's my number 3 choice. Number 2,
Funny story about that movie real fast. The reason why it didn't have any advertisement until a month before the movie came out, and also nobody was talking about it, and it took longer to come out, is because the director was trying to get his name off the movie. That's how much he didn't want to release that movie. So yeah, just a fun story. It looked like total shit, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, it wasn't great at all. Number 2, though, is The Wildlife. This film has apparently been out in other countries for a little while now. It was named Balls, what was it named? I don't remember what it was named. But it was called something different. And it deals with this guy who ends up stranded on an island, and there's talking animals. And the animals all decide to help him survive on the island by building like a home, like basically a tree house. Or it's Robinson Crusoe. It's basically a very kid-friendly version of Robinson Crusoe. And it was dumb, to be perfectly honest. I made the joke throughout my review that he was just he went crazy and had animals just starting to help him in his mind, building tree houses and stuff, and it just wasn't that good of a film.
Was it the animated one? That one?
What?
The animated movie?
Yeah, it was an animated movie. So yeah, it was I think one of 2 animated films that I saw, and one I really enjoyed, one I did not enjoy, and that was the one I did not. But the number 1 worst film of this month,
I know what it is,
has to go to When the Bow Breaks. Yes. This film is just a complete piece of shit. They put out films like this every year. And I saw the last 2 of them, I believe. What is it? The Other Guy, or The Perfect Guy or something. And then the Idris Elba one. And both of them, just at least those ones had some level of tension to them. This one was just it was just a very not good movie. There were times where I just did not feel comfortable watching the film because of how awkward some of the scenes were getting. Because, I mean, if there had been even some sort of scandal between the main characters, like there's a scene where the main villain girl who's having this couple's baby is trying to seduce the husband. He's a good guy. He doesn't fall for anything like that. And so there's just not really any tension to it. It just becomes very, very awkward when he's very like, no, I'm not interested. And she just keeps pushing and pushing. It's like, no. It was just not that good of a movie, and I hated the ending as well because it just made no sense, and just credits started rolling when there's like, why are the credits going now? I mean, I don't mind them, but why are they going now when like there's actually still a little bit more to answer for like what's going on with the movie? But I don't know. It was just a complete piece of shit, and nothing that I ever want to watch again.
Well, that sounds like a good time not to go see that movie, yep. And that's what I did. I actually saw your review, and I was like, hell no. It looked bad anyway, but I was like, oh, hell to the hell no. But, okay, so on my top best, unfortunately I didn't get to see too many movies this year, and actually one of the movies this month, but I think one of the movies you're going to have on here I wanted to see, but I just didn't have time, was Storks, because I think from the previews I had a good time watching the previews, so I thought I would like that. But the 2 movies I did see that I actually really, one I kind of enjoyed, The Magnificent Seven. I think that this movie is the Hollywood movie you expect to come out in the summer, except it didn't come out in the summer, and it's fun and entertaining somewhat. It's that movie that you can't feel but go, damn, it could have been better. And that's all I could keep thinking when I'm watching it. But I did enjoy the action scenes. I thought the chemistry between certain characters was pretty good. And I had a good time watching it. I was never like, oh, God, let this movie end. But I was never watching this movie to the point where I'm like, God, this is the greatest movie of the year. And my wife hated it. So there we go. But the one movie that I really did enjoy, that I didn't expect to enjoy this month, was Masterminds. This movie was absolutely, I'm just kidding, Deepwater Horizon. Deepwater Horizon.
I haven't seen yet, gosh.
it looks fucking horrible. Deepwater Horizon is an entertaining flick, and it's scary to say that because the events that occurred are horrible. Like, they are just so downright disturbing. It was the first movie I watched this year where I was in the movie with my wife, and she was actually gasping at scenes. Because you have to think, wow, these scenes look great, they're filming it, but holy shit, this shit happened. And it's horrible watching people fucking barely surviving to get off this oil rig. It is a well-told story. It gives you all the information you need to know about digging, and I was like, okay, I didn't know that's how it worked, but awesome, without feeling like, oh my God, shut up. So there were some dramatic moments that were just not needed, but overall, it felt pretty raw. It felt real. It gave great performances good performance from Mark Wahlberg, and a great performance from, holy shit, what's his name? Not Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Oh my God, I forgot. But he was great in here. And overall, it was a great cast. I really liked the kid from Teen Wolf, Maze Runner. I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, he was great. And I just really liked the cast a lot. They brought their A game. It made me cry, and that's like an accomplishment in movies for me. So I was actually tearing up. So overall, really emotional, well done, and action packed. At first, I thought it was a Michael Bay movie. Then I'm like, no, this is a real movie. So I was very pleased with it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just recently saw Deepwater Horizon, obviously, because it just came out. I thought it was good, not great for me. I also saw it at 10 in the evening after I worked a full day, so that was maybe part of it. So I thought that the introduction sequence, which took over an hour, was a little bit long. And then the actual action-y part with the whole thing going up in flames was very, like, maybe 20 minutes of the film when it should have been more of the focus, I thought. But I agree, it's still a good movie. I actually have 2 honorable mentions for my best, just really quick. Morgan is the first one. A lot of people didn't enjoy this movie as much. I found it to be actually quite an interesting film.
Wait, I thought that was last month.
No, it came out early September.
Oh, fuck, man. Then, yeah, that's on my worst list.
It's on my honorable mentions for best. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting concept, and check out my review if you want to know more thoughts. Also, Sully, about the miracle on the Hudson, which happened a couple years back. Also, a very good movie. Tom Hanks did a really good performance, just not good enough to get on my top 3 best of the month.
Shit, what is your top 3 best? I was like, man, he's on
number 3 is going to be the Magnificent Seven. Just like you had, I had a really fun time with this movie. I thought it was very well paced for being how long it was. I thought the cast was also extremely fun. Their chemistry was just extremely fun to watch, and the way that the director does the racial diversity and just doesn't really bring it up, but he does comment on it in regards to dialogue with the racial diversity of a lot of the main 7 actors. It's just a really interesting way that was dealt with. I also thought that Ethan Hawke's character was one of the more interesting characters of the whole thing, just with his PTSD from the Civil War and him having to kind of overcome that in order to help save this town. Magnificent Seven was a very, very fun film for me, and one that I quite enjoyed. Number 2 is going to be The Ninth Life of Louis Drax. This was a very, very limited release film, which I was lucky enough to see at a theater about half an hour away from me. It is based on a book, and the general idea is that there's this young child who keeps coming very close to death, and the 9th time that happens is when he ends up falling over the side of a cliff and he ends up in a coma as a result. And it's just a whole mystery around that, trying to figure out, did his father push him over the cliff? What's going on in his head, because you see what's going on inside his head, and he's kind of interacting with his environment in that sense. There's also kind of supernatural elements to it. It stars Jamie Dornan and Aaron Paul in the lead roles. I thought Aaron Paul gave a fantastic performance in this movie, and it shows that he is very, very good at dramatic work in the way that he did it in this film. This film left me in tears by the end of it, just in regards to how well it was portrayed. So, Ninth Life of Louis Drax, my number 2 favorite of the month. And number 1, you mentioned it earlier, is Storks. Storks, just, I don't know why it got to me as much as it did. It's from the director of Neighbors, so it's got that sarcastic wit to it that the first one had. The main stork named Junior, he's got more of that to him. I really enjoyed the chemistry between him and Olive, the main girl, because you just see them going on this adventure. You have Olive, who's this kind of outcast among the storks because she's obviously not a bird, and she's trying to find her family, the whole idea around family, and I really enjoyed kind of how they played with the idea of babies being born, and the way that they create the children in the stork factory is this basically a baby making machine, and it's just kind of a funny play on words. And I don't know, this film again got to me tear wise for some reason. I've become a sap apparently for movies like this, but Storks is easily my favorite film of the month.
Oh wow, wow! I didn't expect Storks to be that good. I do want to see it though, because I do like the cast, and I don't know, animation movies this year have been actually pretty damn good. Much better than previous few years for me. So, and I've liked Kubo and the Two Strings is definitely top 10 material for me this year, so glad to hear that Storks is good, and, we can all forget about the wildlife.
Yeah, I think a lot of animated films, or at least production studios, are figuring out that for an animated film, it doesn't just have to be aimed towards children. It can have adult elements to it, and that's when people are actually going to go out and see it in the theaters, when it has those adult elements to it, and things that adults can get out of the movie, as well as kids enjoying it for just the fun story that it presents just for them. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of years how animated films kind of evolve in that sense. But, guys, those are our thoughts on the best and worst films of September. Let us know yours in the comments down below. What did you like? What did you hate? Did you agree with our list? Let us know. Also, make sure to go and check out James DeSantis' channel. Link is in the description down below. Again, he does very good video game reviews. He just put out a review of Recore, which is fantastic. So go check out his thoughts on that, as well as any of his top 5 and top 10 lists as well. But, guys, as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again. If you so choose, I appreciate it immensely. And as always, people, my name is Pell, and once again, keep on watching.